Right then, Year 7, welcome to our first tutorial in understanding how we're going to create shape by using a series of lines. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to draw a nicely dimensioned rectangle, how we can use those straight lines, and how we can create then some shapes inside. And designers often use this technique to come up with new and irregular types of shapes and forms. So I'm going to slide my sheet up just a little bit here. I'm going to start off with my shape, my rectangle. So I want this rectangle to be dimensioned by 70 and 100. Now in design, folks, we will always use millimeters, and again it's really important to get used to the fact that most of my measurements I will give out will be in millimeters and not in centimeters. So there's my first mark of 70 mil, and I'm going to do my second mark down the side there to create my box, my rectangle of 100. So again, down there and down there. Again at the bottom over here I can go 70 across. Now if I had a set square Year 7, I'll be able to make sure that this is perfectly straight. As of today though, I'm just using my own guides. And again, down we go, and that should get us to 100. Now when dimensioning anything Year 7, you always dimension from the base, so from the bottom and then to the right. And you need to leave about a 10 mil gap between your actual shape. It's really important as well that your shapes do not connect, otherwise you could get it confused with your designs. Solid arrow here, solid arrow there, solid arrow there, and again at the side. And our extension lines need to have about a 3 mil gap from the top. So down we go and down we go. Now later on, when those of you in this room are interested in learning about engineering drawing, these are some of the basic principles that will be carried on if you took that up at GCSE. So about a 3 mil gap across, another 3 mil gap across, and then a straight line all the way down, about 10 mils difference from the actual edge of the shape. And again, a solid, it has to be a solid arrow and a solid arrow. And to complete my dimensioning on here, Year 7, I will write 70 at the bottom and over the side 100. So that first is the first task, just to get yourself with a frame to work inside. Now you can see over here I use straight lines. For this example down here, I'm going to use a series of curved lines. So I'm going to go from one edge to the other edge, or from this edge to this edge, and let's begin. So I'm going to just take some random curved lines. You can see the arc in them over there, and we talked about arcs again last lesson. So I'm going to take another curved line round there, and then I'm going to add into that a further curved line, maybe just bring in a nice arc round here, and maybe another one round here. Now at the moment you may think, well, that doesn't look like anything at this moment in time, but what I can see is a series of new shapes that I could potentially use. There's this lovely shape here and this one here, so I'm going to pick those out just a little bit more so I know where they are. So by using now a thicker line, using my pencil, you can also use a fine liner for this as well. I'm just going to pick out two shapes that I can see. Now, because this shows me two shapes, it doesn't mean I have to pick up two shapes all the time. That one was just clearly a one shape, but this here I can see two forms just coming out nicely. Now once you've identified those shapes, then you can start to add some rendering to them. And I'm going to be doing some gradient rendering using a ruler. Now to do this, I've chosen myself 3 harmonious colours that sit next to each other on the colour wheel. So you've got your yellow, your orange and your red. I'm going to use those and create a lovely shaded pattern which you can just see up at the top over here. So I'm going to start with maybe this form down here. Take your ruler. Now when I'm shading, folks, I always like to shade at a 45-degree angle or a diagonal angle, that's up to you. I'm going to start with my lighter shade, and I'm going to press on harder and lighter, and then harder and press on lighter, and then harder, and finally you can see it gets lighter and lighter and lighter, and then over there. It does take some practice to get used to, but you can just see the start of my gradient appearing there. I'm going to introduce my second colour, my mid colour now, which is my orange. I'm going to add a little hint of that as I band in some colour, just a smidge. You can take it from the edge if you want and work that in. And then finally I'm going to take my third or darkest colour of this particular trio and just add little hints and defining features in there. And that is there fully rendered. Now to finish off the design, I would obviously go around this now with a little bit of fine liner pen. And then finally, for some of you who get onto this stage, you might want to then take out that shape over here. So I'm going to redraw this shape now. So it's this unusual shape that I've just created. And I'm going to now turn it into like a 3D box by doing maybe a bit of dimensioning over the side, adding in a couple of the extra shapes as well. So you can see that maybe this original shape that I came up with in its infancy may look quite simple, but suddenly a designer might think, oh, that looks like an interesting design perhaps for a new iPod or a new MP3 player, you might want to add some devices on the side. So just by taking something as simple as this technique, you can end up with something rather nicely defined at the end. And again, if I wish to, I may then start rendering in that, and that has come from there. And that's really important to see. Right then, I do hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and again, bring in your samples and I might even scan those in for you. Thank you.